Hi everyone, this is Noah Sandler with MTGOacademy.com, and today I'm going to be doing a Modern Masters 2 draft. And here we've got Selesnya Guildmage, Burst Lightning, Banefire, also Scion of the Wilds, Sphere of the Suns. So Banefire is the best card in the pack, and we're passing two really good cards, Burst Lightning, Selesnya Guildmage, along with the Scion. So green-white tokens, people might move into that. Behind us there's some ramp 5-color cards and Burst Lightning, which is probably going to take in either the next person or the person after that. So we might be fighting with for red a little bit, but Banefire is splashable and one of the better cards in the set. So here there's a Wrecking Ball, Sphere of the Suns, Midnight Banshee, Aether Snipe, Fiery Fall. So I think Midnight Banshee is pretty good, but it's a huge commitment into triple black. So I'm just going to take the Wrecking Ball. We're going to be splashing red a really large percentage of the time already, so Wrecking Ball is a lot easier to cast than the Banshee, and is probably just the most powerful card in the pack, probably a little bit better than Banshee, even in a red-black deck. So, I mean, right now we could be red-black, like Bloodthirst aggro, which is one of my favorite archetypes, or we could basically be anything. We could be a green-based ramp deck, 5-color, Grixis control, so we're pretty open right now. And here is a Kiki-Jiki, Aquastrand Spider, Smoke Braider, Skyreach Manta, Ulamog's Crusher, Vampire Lacerator. I think we'll take the Kiki-Jiki. I think it's worth at least a few tickets, and it's actually a pretty strong card. It's possible that Vampire Lacerator would actually be better in the kind of red-black Bloodthirst deck that I like to draft, but Kiki-Jiki is really powerful. There's a lot of cool combos with it, so yeah, we'll take it. Here there's an Is It Boilerworks, Glinthawk Idol, Shrivel. Pretty weak pack overall. I do think Kiki-Jiki works pretty well with blue creatures like Aether Snipe, Muldrifter, so maybe we want to move into blue. We could idle, look for like an aggressive red-white deck, splashing the Wrecking Ball, and Shrivel is also something that you do want to pick up at some point in the draft to deal with all the token decks, but I mean, taking 4th pick this early I think is a little too early. So I think it's between the Idol and the Boilerworks, and I'm going to take the Boilerworks. Maybe looking for some kind of Grixis control, perhaps Elementals, splashing Wrecking Ball. Here there's a Repeal, Water Servant, Basilica, Flarehusk, Ghostly Changeling. So Water Servant can be pretty good in Elementals. If we're just red-black aggro, like Bloodthirst, Ghostly Changeling's okay in that deck, but not something I'm really excited about. And Repeal is a little more splashable. If we're heavy red with the splash of blue and black, I think would be better than the Servant. And then Basilica, if we're just going to go like a big 4-5-color monstrosity, that would be a decent pick. But I think I'm going to take the Repeal and try to keep us in 3 colors for now. And this pack is nice. There's Sphere of the Suns, Cathodian, Dust Hunter Bat, Goblin Fireslinger, Narcolepsy. These are all cards I'd be pretty interested in right now. I do really like the red aggressive decks with Goblin Fireslinger and Dust Hunter Bat, also really nice in those. Cathodian basically always going to make the cut, so that's a fine pick too. Narcolepsy, decent removal, and Sphere helps us splash everything. Unfortunately, like the Fireslinger and Dust Hunter Bat are both in the same pack. We haven't seen too much of them yet, so it seems kind of close. I think I'm just going to take the Cathodian in case we end up a little more like mid-range or controlling. And here there's another Boilerworks. There's Mana Leak, Grim Affliction, Smoke Braider, So our colors are open. Nothing super exciting here. We don't have any elementals yet. I'm not a big fan of elementals, but if you're red-blue, sometimes you'll just end up with enough that you'll want the Smoke Braider. So I think I'm just going to take the Smoke Braider, just in case we move into elementals, but I think Boilerworks is a fine pick also, as is Mana Leak or Affliction. And here's our Shrivel, not too much else. So we've got Igniter and Skargan Firebird that came back. Firebird can be decent in aggro red decks, but we might be moving towards elementals, so I think I'm just going to take the Igniter. Vapor Snag is also fine, but I'm not sure if just Grixis, lots of removal control is a great archetype, because you gotta have enough finishers, so I don't know if playing tempo cards is going to do too much. So I think I'd rather try to get an elemental base to work off of. And here, Brute Force, Dread Drone. I'll take the Death Mark, just a really strong sideboard card. We're probably going to splash the Wrecking Ball anyway, so this will come in against green and white decks. And Sickle Ripper, Ulamog's Crusher, Gut Shot. I just take the Crusher. I don't think Sickle Ripper's going to be that great. Gut Shot can be sided in sometimes. I usually don't play Crusher in just your average control deck, but we might be really looking for a way to win. We're a little short on that right now, but it's still pack 1. I think I'll take the second Shrivel here, but Gust Skimmer is okay as well. But I tend to like taking strong sideboard cards over like mediocre main deck cards. I think you end up with enough playables usually. And we did get the Goblin Fireslinger back. That's pretty cool. I think the card is really underrated right now. It tables a lot, and I think the Bloodthirst decks are some of the best in the format, pairing red with any other color. That is a foil Tarmogoyf. Wow. And there's no Burst Lightning in the pack, so... And my internet connection could go down any second, so I think I'm just going to pick this and move on to the next pack. That's pretty cool. You know, on the foil Tarmogoyf subject, I did think it was kind of ridiculous to see the pros bash Pascal Maynard for taking the foil Goyf in the Grand Prix Vegas top 8. It seemed like a pretty reasonable pick. I mean, you could argue, you know, you could say in that position, maybe, you know, you would have taken the Burst Lightning, but, you know, I don't think you can really hold it against somebody for, you know, making a pick in their own interest. So let's put that in the sideboard for now. There's Cranioplating, Wiltleaf Liege, and Gorehorn Minotaurs. I'm a big fan of these Bloodthirst decks with Minotaurs, so I think I just take that. I mean, we can't really move into Affinity. The Liege is really far off of what we're doing right now. So I'm just going to take Minotaurs. Maybe we can be an aggressive red deck here. We've got a Blood Ogre and not much else. There's a Lacerator. So I think I move into aggro red at this point. And I might do some splashing, but I don't think I'm going to be doing elementals. And we'll see if we can make this work. There's Copper Carapace, which is okay in that deck. Narcolepsy, which is fine if we just go for the more controlling red, blue, black deck. I don't like Rusalka too much. Rap's okay, but we already have some Shrivels. And Smoke Braider if we do want to go to elementals, but we just have an Igniter and another Smoke Braider, so I think it's probably too late for that. So is it Carapace, or do we take Narcolepsy? I guess I'll just take the Narcolepsy. Maybe we'll be red-blue, Bloodthirst aggro, and I think Carapace is more replaceable than having a nice piece of removal. Gambit can be nice. I'm going to take another Fire Slinger. This doesn't look like it's going to be an ideal version of the red aggressive deck, because pack 1 didn't give us too much. but a lot of the cards you play aren't that useful in other decks. So if it's open at this point, we might finish out with a really strong pack 2 and then just pick up a couple cards for pack 3. So we'll take an Ashen Moor Gouger here. Could be tough on the mana if we end up heavier blue, but we just have a Narcolepsy Repeal. So I think it's maybe worth moving a little harder into red-black. We'll take another Fire Slinger over Boilerworks. And I think Apostle's Blessing here. Sling Death, not very good. Blessing can be okay. And another Blood Ogre. I think that was from the Tarmogoyf pack, so glad I rare drafted. Might want to check how much that's worth. Well, Tarm. 44. Looks like it's about 44. So this pack's pretty weak. Blades of Elspeth is never good in these decks. Actually, I guess I'll take the Helium Squirter. It's okay with the Bloodthirst creatures in case if we end up red-blue, or at least splashing blue. I'm never interested in Death Denied. Waking Nightmare is pretty unexciting, so I'm just going to hate Raise the Alarm. Waking Nightmare can actually be good in some decks, but in the really aggressive deck, I don't think you want to play it. And I'll just take another Smoke Braider, in case if we do end up Elementals. Soulbright Flamekin, I think I'll take that over Wrap, since we already have Shrivels, and if we do run Braiders, like we could go for Ulamog's Crusher, a Giant Banefire, or Flamekins with the Igniter to triple activate that relatively easily. So just another option, but I would like to just be red-black aggro. Maybe red-blue aggro with a little splash. So we got a Stormblood Berserker in this pack. The card's fantastic in this archetype, one of the best cards you can open. Really nice with 3 Fire Slingers. Guess I'll move the Narcolepsy back in. And could maybe play the Crusher. We've got a Burst Lightning. Let's take over Darksteel Axe. Probably will wield a Combust, which is a nice sideboard card. Okay, I think we take Firebird. I don't really like the double splash on Agony Warp, and the rest of the pack's pretty weak. And another weak pack. Slaughtermaster is playable. We don't really have any pump for it, so it's actually pretty weak here. I think I'm going to take the Smash to Smithereens for boarding against the Affinity deck. Again, I really like taking the strong sideboard cards over marginal playables. And Dagger Claw Imp. I mean, with the Gouger, we do kind of want to lean towards black. I mean, we could play the Smoke Braiders and Guile, but it could be hard to cast. We don't have too much fixing, and we're pretty aggressive. And I'm not too interested in the Agony Warps on the double splash. So Imp's a very nice aggressive card, and we'll take a Lacerator here over Sign, Sickle Slicer, and Fiery Fall. It's another good 1-drop to turn on our Berserker, and now we have a Dusk Hunter bat. So deck's finishing out pretty strong. Don't really need Soul Stoke. And I don't like Vampire too much in decks that can't abuse it. Like, I think it's good in the black-green token stack, but not really anywhere else. Anti-Confection, I don't think Soulstoke does enough here. And Mutagenic Growth, Dreadrune, or Flare Husk. I think Mutagenic Growth probably the best. Flare Husk can turn on the 2-mana Bloodthirst creatures if you get it on turn 1, but I don't think it offers too much after that. I don't really think it's worth the card slot. And Dreadrone, I don't think we're going to play Crusher at this point, so I just think Mutagenic Growth, the free pump spell, is going to be the best. I guess I'll take a Shrewd Hatchling. We're playing mostly red cards, so I think it actually might be playable here. We already have we already have a War Paint. So I guess another Instill Infection. And we don't need any more Shrivels, so I'll take Slaughtermaster. Hate Mana Leak, so I'm going to cut the blue. I think Boilerworks is okay, since we do have Banefire, Firebird, and Kiki-Jiki for some more expensive stuff. Probably don't want the Flamekins. Apostle's Blessing is okay. Slaughtermaster, not very good. So we can cut Infection. I think main deck Smash is okay. But I might run the deck as is. So we have Growth to pump the Slaughtermaster, Igniter, and that's it. That's not much. Seems a little weak. Could just run Instill Infection. Hope to cycle it. Or Soulbright Flamekin might be a little bit better. Yeah, I'm going to go with Flamekin, so just give us another 2-drop, maybe turn on our Bloodthirsters for turn 3 or later. It gives us another way to get to triple Igniter activation, and it's good with Banefire. And it could also just trample over a Minotaur or Gouger. So this isn't the ideal version of this deck, but I think it can win games if it draws well. And for the mana base, don't need that many swamps. We could also play Goblin Warpaint. Yeah, maybe I'll play Warpaint over the Flamekin. It's another way to put a threat on the board. I mean, the deck could function on 16 lands, but I think 17 is okay with some of the more late game stuff that we have. And there's nothing really great to put in, so I think I'd rather just be able to cast my spells a little more often than have like one more spell into the deck. So this is 16, this would be 12, and 5 sources of black. I think I can go a little higher, 6, maybe 7. So it'd be like 10-7. I think I'm going a little more red, so 6. So it's a little short for getting Lacerator on turn 1. But other than that, I think it's fine. There's only 4 black cards anyway. And 11 mountains means that Kiki-Jiki is going to be pretty easy to get going. And also our other 1-drops in red are going to be pretty much guaranteed. So submit. And I'll see you for round 1. Alright, we're back for round 1. I recognize our opponent's Sam Riser. I think they are a strong player who's been around for a while. So, should be a good match. Definitely not running out Berserker on turn 2. You really want to Bloodthirst this guy. mean, it does turn on our ogre, but I think we have better plays. We just go Ashen Mouth, Ashen Moor Gouger into something else. So opponent's black-green. They could have something like Bone Splinters. Otherwise, this Gouger is going to be pretty strong. Tezzard's Gambit. No value off it, though. It looks like they might be considering chumping with Rusalka so they don't get Minotaur next turn. But I just might prefer going for Hatchling anyway. So we draw War Paint. We'll attack for 4 and go for Hatchling. And that can get big pretty quickly. We have 3 red spells in hand. We could play War Paint on it. Play a Mountain, maybe make something not block, but it makes it a 5/5. Attack with both, and then play Berserker or Ogre post-combat, pump it even further. If the opponent passes, they could definitely have Scatter the Seeds. So just play Plaxcaster Frogling and Bloodthrone Vampire and move a counter over. So I still kind of like the War Paint play. So let's War Paint the Hatchling. Then post-combat, either Berserker or Ogre. And Imp also would be decent, but I think I want to take advantage of the Bloodthirst this turn. So I'm going to go with Berserker. I think the need to be blocked by 2 creatures is actually pretty powerful when the opponent has a vampire out. So otherwise they could chump 1 creature, put a vampire in front of another, sack the chump creature to pump vampire, but with Berserker out they have to put both creatures in front of Berserker. So I mean, this is putting opponent in a pretty tough spot. We do have the Direclaw Imp as a flying threat if they're able to deal with their ground creatures. But the Shrewd Hatchling, you can use its ability, make creatures not block it. So it's close to unblockable. We're going to have 4 mountains in play. Opponent does have Plaxcaster Frogling, so they can give creatures Shroud, but we're spending 1 mana, they're spending 2. If they activate to try to give something Shroud, we can activate in response. They'll have to Shroud again. So we have Kozilek's Predator. That means that their vampire can get pretty large. It also lets them chump onto our Berserker, or at least have a lot of creatures to block. So we might not have a great attack this turn. One thing we could do is just use Hatchling, make Vampire not block, send it in, and yeah, I mean that's pretty much all we'll do with the Hatchling. And then I guess we'll just go for Imp post-combat. So pretty much we'll just take out an Eldrazi spawn, I think. think I might as well make the Predator not be able to block. Well, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Well, since opponent didn't do anything there, I could actually just... Like, I thought they might respond. But I can make the Eldrazi spawns not block. It's weird how Moto does this, but I believe it's the bottom one that I need to click. So I think I can attack with Hatchling here. Opponent has to chump with Predator or Frogling. And maybe they have something like Grim Affliction, which could be a beating. I just noticed that now. So perhaps to play around it, I might want to just make the Predator not block and just eat an Eldrazi spawn. Well, looks like they got it. So I think that was a mistake. So we get blown out pretty hard by that. The bright side is we do get to go for Daggerclaw Imp. It's a 3-turn clock, so hopefully that's good enough. But it could easily not be. So, I mean, the opponent might have something like Mana Leak, but I think the fact that they didn't use Frogling to try to counter the first activation could definitely lead you to think that they had Grim Affliction. And it is such a blowout, but I didn't think of it until I had already made the play. So, had I considered Affliction, I think, yeah, I would have just made the Vampire and the Predator not be able to block and just eaten an Eldrazi spawn token. Like, if they don't have Affliction, it's a lot better to make the play I did, but I think you can put them on a pretty reasonable chance of having it. So they have, yeah, Helium Squirter. That's very bad. So now the Imp doesn't do too much. We could draw a Banefire. Fire Slinger is not bad, but opponent can start coming in for a lot of damage soon. So we can take 9. It's a little weird, but I think I just Ogre here. Opponent can put us very close to dead next turn, and even though we're showing all the cards in our hand, and I would have actually just kept the Swamp, another spot where I just thought of the correct play right after I started making a different play. I think we just need to get as much on the battlefield, so if we top deck a burn spell, we can attack back for the most damage possible. Assuming opponent makes some kind of a big attack. But yeah, gotta wait. No good attacks here. So this is pretty unfortunate. I think opponent is going to have lethal next turn on a big attack. So attack for 9, 12, 14, and they have Outcasts. Outcast is pretty rough. This makes our attacks not very good. This opponent can lifelink, so we might not have any outs at this point. So I think that's it. So yeah, they have a cool deck. They played that game very well. So Deathmark's going to come in. I was considering maybe we want something like Ulamog's Crusher and the Soulbright Flamekins in case we flood out. But this could be pretty good right now. Don't want the Shrivels. Don't want Smash. Alright, we'll try this. Okay, this hand is super good. Opponent goes to 5, so this one should be pretty easy. Resummoning Skeleton's pretty good. Doesn't stop the Berserker currently. They grabbed a Cytoplasm Rootkin off the Commune with Nature. So there is a chance that they come back if they have some lands and a creature or something coming up. But our start is close to unbeatable. And now we're going to have two Goblin Fire Slingers in play. So that's going to make a comeback pretty tough for opponent. Yes, I think we Bane of Fire Rootkin. And keep attacking. Okay, so that's game. So I think we just run it back again. Okay, Sand's keepable. Not quite as explosive. But turn 1 Fire Slinger usually gets in a ton of damage. Oh, opponent has a Gut Shot. And Plague Rusalka and a Bounce Land, so they have a good start. We did just draw a Wrecking Ball. We could kill a Bounce Land at some point with that. Tug Thallid. I'm just gonna go for Igniter. I don't want to get Rusalka here on the Imp. Opponent seems to be attacking with Thala. That's kind of interesting. I think the play is to block. They could have Vampire Outcasts. And either way, they could just pay 2 black mana to double shoot the Igniter with the Tuckatung token, so I will block here. Alright, I think we go for the Wrecking Ball on the Aqueduct. See if we can mana screw our opponent. Oh, they got a Rot Farm, but they're off blue mana currently. So here, I think we just go for Kiki-Jiki, smash. And hopefully next turn we can Bloodthirst in a Minotaur. So could be Scatter the Seeds. This would definitely be annoying. I don't think it's Grim Affliction. I think they would have cast already. I mean, we could just play Gorehorn and Kiki the Minotaurs. Attack for 3. That would keep the Kiki safe. And opponent did leave back the Rusalka. Like, they could have swung with it. So it does sort of seem like they have something. I think Scatter makes a lot of sense. So because of that, I think I just go for Minotaurs. Make a copy of it, attack for 3. Opponent does, like if they do go for Scatter, they are able to use Rusalka to kill the Kiki-Jiki after they untap. But we'll still be a little bit ahead on board. I just figured that they would have swung with the Rusalka, just for 1 damage if like the Rusalka looks like it's gonna be used to convoke here. So let's go for the Minotaurs. Okay, opponent did not go for Scatter. So a little surprised by that. They have Scavenger's Drake, and they leave up a green, not a black. So I don't know if they're just continue to get levelly here. And this could be Vines of Vastwood. But let's activate this on the Minotaur and attack for 6. Does sack it in a turn? It does, so it actually pumps up the Drake. That's kind of annoying. Perhaps I shouldn't have done that. Block Rusalka, so that's good for us. So now we can go for Imp. And we could get Waking Nightmare, but I think I just need to keep playing lands for Banefire to get it to max. Precursor Golem. Wish we had Smash the Smithereens in our deck. Alright, well we're taking 3 here, but we do get to swing back for a ton of damage if we Kiki the Imp. So, I don't know, we might be able to just win here. The next turn. Just drawing Bat. So if opponent has nothing, we definitely win here. Play a forest, so still no blue mana. Does seem like they have Vines of Ashwood, so perhaps... Oh, actually, shoot, if they have Vines, I think we're just dead. Crap, I think they have Vines, I think we're dead. Alright. Let's see, 7... 14... Gosh, if we block both, we can beat Vines barely. But I think opponent has just repped Vines so much here by leaving up the green for so many turns that I think we have to give them credit for it. And if they do just have Vines, like I think we're just winning on the swing back. Kiki Jiki on Imp, I think that's going to be a lot of what opponent has. If they have something like Grim Affliction, we're wrecked anyway. So yeah, I think we just block here. Or, well, let's see, one sec. If they do have Vines, they could use it on our Imp. Like, let's say they don't use it here. Let's go like this. But that means that we can probably just attack with both of our creatures. They would have to have a non-green creature and have Vines, I think, to win. So if they had like Vampire Outcast, they could maybe do it. But yeah, I think I just put the Imp on the Drake. So I take 14 if they have Vines. And if they don't Vines, I prevent an extra damage. And I think I want to kill the Precursor Golem, the actual Golem rather than the token, in case they want to Vines on a future turn. But that's about all I can think of here. And if not, we also have some outs. Opponent is at 4, so we could draw Burst Lightning or Banefire. Okay, Aquastrand Spider. Ugh. Yeah, let's see. I think that's gonna beat us. Because the Drake's a 7/7. So if the opponent has Vines, I think we're gonna lose. So we can go Deathmark on Spider, they Vines it. So we can't kill him this turn, and then we take lethal next turn. But that's our only play at this point. Yep. So, yep, we can just get him to 1 here. but that's not enough. Imp can't block. So yeah, pretty crazy game. Man, feel like I played it pretty well. Glad to get that foil Tarmogoyf for sure. Yeah, I mean, had the right read on the vines. They have to have kind of a specific type of card along with vines to get us there, and we needed to not draw like a fly or burn spell. So yeah, pretty close. So hope you learned something from that. It was really nice to be able to play a tough opponent. I think that made the games pretty interesting. And I'll see you next time. Hi everyone, this is Noah Sandler from mtgoacademy.com, and today I'm going to be doing a Modern Masters 215 8-4. So let's jump into queue. And it looks like we got Newmont the Nummy in our draft, so hopefully we can play him. He's probably streaming. We got a Spell Skype, which is worth a decent amount, so it's probably the pick just for that. But it's also a really strong card in the format. Just really annoying. Deals with stuff like Nameless Inversion, Narcolepsy, Lightning Bolt pretty well. So yeah, a card I really like to have, and it's colorless, goes in any deck. Other than that, there's Nameless Inversion, Hikari, Remand, Dimir Guildmage, Aether Snipe, Thrumming Bird that might table. Spellskite basically goes in any deck, but we're passing a decent amount of black, white, and blue. Might as well check where we're at in the positioning. So looks like we're far away from Kenji. So for this pack, there is Raise the Alarm, Bone Splinters, Blinding Soul Eater, Scion of the Wild. I do think that green-white tokens is one of the best archetypes in the format. Raise the Alarm is a pretty key card for that archetype. Blinding Soul Eater probably keeps you the most open and could work well with Affinity. So I think that's also a decent pick. And Scion, I think, is a little less exciting than Raise in that archetype. And Bone Splitters is kind of nice in black-green tokens, but it is a little more narrow. So I think Soul Eater is a pretty strong pick. I think I'm just going to take the Raise the Alarm, just a preference for green-white tokens. We could probably table a Fortify from this pack, but I think Soul Eater is also a pretty good pick. And here there's a Nameless Inversion as the clear best card, Wayfarer's Bauble, Skyreach Manta, just some okay 5-color stuff, and Ulamog's Crusher. So we'll take the Nameless Inversion, just the best card. I'm not really seeing anything for tokens in this pack, so we might pivot out. And there's another Raise the Alarm, a Nest Invader, also Reassembling Skeleton, Bone Splinters, Chalice Cathodian. So it would be cool to be green-white tokens, and I guess it's kind of open seeing the Invader and the Raise the Alarm. We could also take Reassembling Skeletons to go with the Nameless Inversion and combo it with stuff like Bone Splinters. So kind of an interesting pick. Nest Invader is probably the best card in the pack, but I think we might just be forcing green-white tokens at this point if we take it. So, and Raise the Alarm was also pretty much only good in the token strategy. So if I was going to take one, I would just take the Invader, but I think I'm going to take Reassembling Skeleton. This black seems pretty open. We'll see if we can do something with that. So here there's a Dusk Hunter back, Bat. I always say back. Bat, Blood Ogre, Aquastrian Spider, Shikari, So Spider and Ogre are probably the best cards, but there's also Dusk Hunter Bat, which is pretty nice in aggressive decks. So might take that, but I mean black-green tokens could be open here. So I think I'm going to take the Aqua Strand Spider. I think that's the best way to take advantage of reassembling Skeleton. It's going to be better than Bat in that archetype. So I'm going to take Spider. And there's Kozilek's Predator. That's pretty late. It's a good pack. It has Blood Ogre, Mana Leak, Crusher, but that's a late Predator, so definitely going to jump in for that. Might be moving into black-green tokens. So here we have Dredrone versus Deathmark, and that's kind of close. In this format, I really like taking the powerful sideboard cards because you always end up with enough playables. So I'd rather just have something that's going to be like an all-star in sideboard games. So I think I'm just going to take the Deathmark. Dredrone is a card that works well in the black-green token archetype, but even there I don't think it's that good. Like, I think it's still going to be one of the weaker cards in your deck, so I'd rather just take a card that at least will be really good in some matchups. So Raise Alarm's coming out, and I mean it looks like we're on our way to a pretty good black-green sacrifice deck, especially if the Bone Splinters comes around. Normally I like picking up Shrivel. You definitely want to get at least one in the draft, but I think Plague Rusalka is a pretty key card for the black-green sacrifice deck, so I think that's what we want here. So hopefully we get back some Bone Splinters. The Foil Remand came back. We'll take Sun and Blood. The Throwing Bird could also be okay. If you're blue-green-black, you can do like a Thrumming Bird deck with Graft. I think we'll take the Sign. And I guess, let's see, do we want the Apostle's Blessing or Thallid? Even in the Sacrifice deck, I think Thallid is a bit underwhelming. So I think I'm just going to take Apostle's Blessing. And Dredrone did come around, so we'll take that. Doesn't look like we're going to get Splinters. Centering Vitae is nice. It's an okay main deck card, and definitely strong in sideboard. Take a Kite Sail. So I think someone else might be in like a similar archetype, black-green sacrifice. Because we're not tabling all the cards I was hoping to, but our deck still looks pretty good. It seems like we're in a pretty good spot. At least with the people to our right seem to be shipping us these colors. Okay, there's 2 Loathsome Golems in the pack, but we'll take a Dismember and maybe table Primarch or Rootkin. Here there's a Selesnya Guildmage and an Algae Gharial. The Gharial's a really strong card in this archetype, so I think it's just better than Guildmage if we're not going to have white mana. Guildmage is still good. It's a little bit hard to cast. We already have Cyan Blood, Rusalka that wants, and Skeleton that want a lot of black mana. While getting extra tokens for the sacrifice deck is good, and I think it's a fine card. I think Gharial is actually just a really key card for the archetype, and I don't want to risk having it not come back. There's a Chimeric Mass, which is really strong. We'll just snap that up. It's good in any deck. And since we're black, we might take a little bit of Proliferate as well with Spider and the Gharial. This pack not quite as nice. I think I'm just going to take my first Vines over a second Dredrone. Drones are pretty easy to pick up. Again, not that exciting for the archetype. Here there's Plaxcaster Frogling, which would be nice. Basilica currently wouldn't be splashing anything off of it, and I mean we don't have that many tokens or counters right now. We can't really take advantage of the throttling so much. Mutagenic growth is fine. I think I'll take the Basilica. Centering Vitae number 2 is also okay, just give you insurance against affinity, but Basilica means we might be able to splash something. And I guess we're going to get another Vitae, or we could get Dimir Guildmage. Not as strong without blue, so it's pretty close. We could go for a blue splash, potentially. And it is just a 2-2. I think I'll take it. Discard ability is not great, but I think it's probably better than taking the second Vitae. We got Bloodthrone Vampire, can be pretty nice with Resembling Skeleton. And Scatter the Seeds just gives us extra fodder. A lot less powerful in this deck than the green-white tokens deck. And Cytoplast Rootkin, I think, over Primarch. Plummet's a nice sideboard card, but just 4/4 for 4 is good. We'll take a Primarch over Instill Infection. Take another Vines. With 2 Vines and Apostle's Blessing, I don't think we want to take any more pump spells or protection spells, especially since a lot of our creatures either just want to die or like Gariel doesn't need any protection. So got another Dread Drone, and we'll take Waking Nightmare for board. It's pretty strong against 5-color decks. They want to sit back and wait for a big Savage Twister or Eldrazi. You can really hurt them with Waking Nightmare. I don't think Commune's going to be that great. I'll just hit a Cumalox. So the second pack, I think, was a little bit weak. We got a lot of decent filler cards, but I feel like someone else might be in on the archetype, whoever picked up the Bone Splinters from pack 1. But I think pack 3 should be really good, because green and black both seem really open. And I mean, this pack has basically nothing for us, so I'm just going to take the Battlegrace Angel. We have a Basilica. It's powerful enough that you might consider going for the double splash on it. But other than that, I mean, Root Canal is okay. My table, Evolving Wilds would be okay. And we're also just hating it, because it is one of the best cards in the set. I think our colors are pretty much set at this point. I guess there's a chance we could just ditch most of the black and move into green-white tokens. Move the Raise the Alarm in. Another Reassembling Skeleton, so that probably cancels that option. I don't think Grudine is that great. Just like 6 mana for a 3 toughness creature. If it gets going, it's nice. I think I'm just going to take Rampant Growth. We could maybe still splash the Angel. And I think this deck could benefit from some ramp. We got an Aquastrand Spider and some blue-green cards. I think I'll just take another Spider. Can't really have too many of them. Works well with the Rootkin. We got a Bone Splinters. We'll take over Arrest. Bone Splinters is just about as good as Arrest in this archetype. So even if we have a decent chance of splashing white, I think Bone Splinters is just the better card. And Selesnya Guildmage, Scatter the Seeds, another Vampire. I think we take Guildmage, we have the Basilica, so just like a 2/2 that can make tokens can be good, and then we could maybe pump with it if we draw Basilica. I don't think Scatter is that important. Could still kind of move into green-white with the black splash. fit the angel in. We have Rampant Growth versus another Sign in Blood. Not interested in Scuttling Death. I think I'll take Rampant Growth. And that's our first Shrivel. There's also a Fortify. I think we'll take Shrivel. It could kill a lot of our stuff, but it's just really important against the green-white tokens archetype. So I think this deck might be a little tough to build. I think I want to avoid the white. So we did get back a Root Canal Eye, which should be fine. We just got a lot of tokens sitting around. And I think we'll take another Vampire over Husker Bounty. And the Grudion. I do think we'll play the Grudion. Maybe a Dread Drone could get cut. Maybe Vines. Dimir Guildmage. Rampant Growth. Maybe run this 17. I think I'll hit the Fire Slinger. So I think the deck's solid, not too exciting, but has some decent synergy with the skeletons. And Gariel can definitely get out of hand. So I think this will just be the build. The options are another Dread Drone, Dimir Guildmage, another Rampant Growth, Vines. I think Vines is generally just better than Blessing if you're going to play one. Deck does have a lot of use for extra mana, so I think one Rampant Growth is fine. The second one might be okay. The spiders are really nice with the Rootkin and give us some extra ways to deal with flyers. Also, you can just graft a counter to something and sack it to Vampire or Rusalka or Splinters. Gives you a little extra value. I think the Sign in Blood is good. So, yep, I think this is it. It's gonna go 8/8 with an extra black from the Basilica. And submit. I'll see you for round one. Alright, we're back for round one. So we're going to keep this hand. Just run out of turn one Rusalka. So facing the red-black deck. Definitely don't want to take a hit here, so we'll probably trade the Rusalka off. And I'm thinking maybe Sign in Blood. Or we just ran out the spider. I think we'd rather trade off Rusalka than spider, but that could be wrong. We do have Dread Drone, and the opponent might have a few 1 toughness cards. Alright, we'll just go for spider, pass, see what opponent's up to. Yeah, I think I'm just going to block with spider. I do just have the Wonder Salk in the deck, and I've got a lot of ways to combo with it. Dagger Claw Imp. That's unfortunate. I think I just have to sack the Rusalka because I don't want my opponent playing a 5/5 next turn. And it means I can't Sign in Blood here. Well, okay, opponent blows a Burst Lightning to play Blood Ogre. And we draw Vampire, so we'll Sign in Blood. Another Vampire. So we'll have to take a hit here, then play Dread Drone, and that'll make the Vampire pretty good. A little worried that opponent has a Gorehorn Minotaur here, or Vampire Outcasts. And if they don't, they just pass. Root Canal is also nice. So I think we're going to go with Drone and pass, threatening to block with the Vampire. Should be pretty safe. And should probably hold opponent back for a turn. Something like Dismember or Land Burst Lightning. They might still attack. I guess Brute Force does it too. Or wait, no, 3, 5, 7. So burst, yeah, Brute Force is fine. Lightning Bolt might do it, but either way, I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure if Lightning Bolt does it. So we sack once, let it resolve. Sack twice. Lightning Bolt doesn't do it. Dismember does. Blades of Velasvel. Alright, we'll go one more. Okay, so we traded Dread Drone for Blood Ogre and Blades. Pretty cool. Let's go for Vampire Root Canal, I think. The opponent certainly doesn't have any instant speed removal. Probably has no removal in hand currently. Wow, good draw. So Predator gives us a lot of extra damage this turn. So we go attack with these two. Pump ally. I think I just pump again. Probably something like Wildfire could hurt. I guess even Wildfire we could maybe save one, or I guess we could save both of our vampires. So even that's not so bad. So next turn we should be able to lethal opponents. We can tap creatures with ally to pump it, and then sack them afterwards to vampire. Okay, Sickle Ripper, Slaughtermaster. So either Vampire is lethal right now. They're going to go Bone Splinters. So I don't think accomplishes too much. Let's let it happen. So either one of our creatures is lethal. Scatter, just icing on the top. And 3. So opponent does have a lot of 1 toughness creatures. I could see maybe putting the Shrivel in, even though it does hit some of our stuff too. And Vines might be okay. Stuff that isn't good. Sign Blood gets a little weaker. And maybe we'll just cut Sign. This opponent's trying to attack our life total. And it seems good. This hand's actually pretty strong. Has Skeleton, Splinters. Spellskite can do a lot of work against the Bloodthirst deck. And we did draw our Forest. Probably just run out Skeleton. So we'll just pass. Not too many spells that opponent could have that deal with the Spellskite 1-for-1. Like they could Wrecking Ball it. If they have something like Blades of Velisvale, they're going to take a 2-for-1. Attack with both. I mean, Skeleton on Sickle Ripper seems like a fantastic block. And then question is, do we want to let our Spellskite die here to some kind of pump? Or do we want to risk a Blood Ogre or something like that coming in? I think we block. And just, minimum we take like a 1 for... I mean, they're trading Ripper with Skeleton regardless, which is pretty nice. I mean, if we take a Burst Lightning here, I don't think it's that bad. Nameless Inversions is fine. So opponent plays in their Sickle Ripper. And Burst Lightning. Okay. Kozilek's Predator, great draw. Opponent might want to send in with the Ripper, considering how weak it is against the Skeleton. Shrinking the Predator is pretty valuable. I'm probably just going to chump with a Spawn token to stop opponent from Bloodthirsting if they do that. I attack with both, so we'll put Predator on Lacerator and Spawn token on the 2-1. Opponent can only have so many Burst Lightnings. Dagger Claw Imp. So maybe they're just throwing away their guy, so they don't have to take damage every turn. I'm fine with that. So this turn, I do like getting rid of the Dagger Claw, so I think we want to Bone Splinters that. So we can go Guild Mage, get back Skeleton, Splinters Skeleton on Imp. And yeah, I think we attack for 3. Jump with Spawn next turn. Here, probably send both. Play Rootkin, get back, reassembling skeleton. You can also make a token with Guild Mage, get back skeleton. Plays a little bit better on defense, but I think we're pretty far ahead right now. Could also Dread Drone and in a turn use spawn token to get back the skeleton. Opponent sends a message and they concede. And one of our opponents in this draft is named Reassembling Skeleton. I mean, it was pretty strong there. We got to abuse it with Bone Splinters, but by itself it was just really good against opponent's deck. They had a lot of 1 toughness creatures. So, yeah, I mean, our deck performed pretty well. And let's see if we can do it again for round 2. Hey everyone, here for round 2. And I'm trying to get the chat box up here. So we'll play first. This hand's pretty strong. Let's get Skeleton, which might be the key card for the deck. Strong removal spell, and then scatter into Primarch. So it can have a bunch of creatures out, and a 7/7 pretty quickly. So we'll start with the Forest in case we want to cast Selesnya Guild Mage on turn 2 if we draw it. Okay, play Grisalka is pretty good. To keep up Dismember if something crazy happens. So opponent playing Plains Idol, probably on Affinity, but could be some kind of aggressive white deck like white-red equipment. Okay, there's a Soul Eater. Could definitely dismember that or the Idol. I do think I'm going to want to kill the Soul Eater at some point because we want to play a 7/7 Primarch. So I think I might dismember now. Next turn, not going to have any mana up. Like, we could save some life eventually, potentially, but I don't see that happening anytime soon, so we'll just kill that now. Getting a swamp is nice, so we can start sacking and getting skeleton back, or sack 2 things in a turn to kill a 2 toughness creature. I don't think we're fooling anybody, so I think I just cast Scatter right now. And I think I'd rather attack for 1 than use Rusalka for the turn. Opponent, if they're Affinity, they might have blue, they might have counters, and I'd like the Scatter Seeds to resolve, so I'm just going for it first. I guess there is some benefit to leaving up double black, but I don't think I'm ever sacking both of my guys on my opponent's turns. I don't think it would make a difference. So opponent gets a smash with the Idol. We go to 12, and it looks like they might have another Idol left back on defense. And they play a Kite Sail. So we're free to attack. We do want to start getting a little worried about our life total. Rusalka can definitely help out a bunch pretty soon. So I think we go Guildmage into Primarch. 1, 3, 5, 6. We could leave up double black to kill an idol, and I kind of like that. We could also just get 2 damage in, and then more damage on future turns. But I think threatening to kill idol is pretty cool. So let's do that. 1 mana short. My bad. So instead we will just attack for 1. I'll be pretty sure at this point my opponent's affinity. I might see a Mirror Enforcer this turn. We're letting things get a little bit close here. Considering how strong our overall board presence is, I don't want to take too much more damage. I think there might be some lines opponent gets out of cranial plating and threatens too much damage through the air for Rusalkas to stop. So we can basically kill 1 creature a turn if we leave up our black, and then we're going to be swinging for a lot of damage. So opponent won't have too many turns to survive that, but opponent could put us to 8 here, play something else. If they went plating, equip, they could deal a lot of damage, and the game would end up kind of close. But in general, I think we're favored here. Our board presence is so good, and Rusalkas should give us some protection against taking too much damage from flyers. Okay, so opponent goes with Court Homunculus, probably double activate. Maybe equip Kite Cell somewhere, double attack. Okay, Kite Cell goes on Hawk, so they're going for max damage currently. And Boros Garrison. That's a little scary. Could mean Burst Lightning's coming our way. So we draw a Swamp. That's not a bad draw. It means we can double ping with Rusalka, or make a Guildmage token, double ping. Or triple ping with Rusalka. Plays around something like Brute Force. So I think we can send just about everything. I might... Yeah, it's probably got to be everything. Or I guess maybe Rusalka back, but we have to deal a lot of damage to opponent. They have something like Burst Lightning. I guess they can't activate the idols as well. But if possible, we'd want to be able to finish our opponent off next turn or force them to chump. In fact, the Rusalkas mean that maybe they won't be able to chump. We could remove their blockers and get Primarch through. I don't think we do that this turn. I think we have to make a big attack. So, question is, do we send Rusalka or not? I think every other creature is fine, but if we send Rusalka, we have to sack 2 things. Like, we can't lose to Rusalka here. So I think we send everything but Rusalka. Opponent might just chump the 7/7, and they might block something else, try to protect some damage. So opponent takes all this. We're cool with that. Play a swamp. And we're set up pretty well for a kill next turn, I think. Opponent might have to sit back on defense. So, like, having 3 Rusalka sacks available for this turn means it's really hard for opponent to attack. And we can also clear the way for the Primarch attacking next turn. So we could do 2 sacks on our turn, or on their turn right now. Make another token or get back Skeleton. Okay, so Archangel, that can be pretty bad for us. Giving Shroud is very scary here. We're not necessarily dead, because opponent will probably have to block Primarch next turn, though that might not be good enough from our perspective, because they could maybe leave an idol back, so they could go attack with 1 idol, leave 1 back to block Primarch, and we can't lethal our opponent through that. And then the next turn they could move Kitesail to Archangel and attack with the other idol. If they have 1 more artifact in hand, I think they can do that and still have the other idol protected. If they lose the first idol for a turn, we're going to be able to target their artifacts, but if they play another artifact, we're going to have no opportunity to actually hit the idol. So it's looking kind of bad for us right now, actually. It was looking very good, but Archangel was a really strong play. Excuse me. So opponent just goes to end step. That's kind of interesting. I feel like attacking with the idol there would have been a strong play. I mean, they could put us to 5, they chump, then 5, then they have 7 coming in, and I could sack 3 guys, so I guess they can't quite lethal me there. So, because of that, like, we would go to 1 if we sack 3 things to make the Archangel smaller. Because of that, I think, yeah, maybe it's best for them to just sit back. So, end of turn, can't really do anything with Rusalka, so all I can do is just make a Saproling. Then we're probably going to tank on our turn, have to make a tough decision. So there's a forest. Not sure there's any reason to leave any number of creatures back. The opponent, I think they have to chump the Primarch. They take Primarch, they take 4, or they go to 4, they have to block 3 other creatures, so they take lethal. So something's chumping the Primarch, probably an idol. And beyond that, opponent could go for blocks to maybe try to force me to lose Rusalka or Guildmage, something like that. But then their board is going to become not super exciting. So I think we just send everything. I don't really see a reason not to. We're not going to be able to block next turn either way. We could play a forest. Perhaps there's a situation where we want to activate Guildmage for a token, but I think we can just get back a Skeleton with that mana, and having a card in hand might change the way our opponent blocks a little bit. So I'm going to hold the forest. It's possible I get punished for that. It's hard for me to see the situation where that happens. Like, it would take some very specific blocks where opponent maybe puts Idol on Guildmage, Archangel on Rusalka, and my best play would involve making a token. So I might lose a 1/1 this way, but I don't think that that's opponent's best blocks, so I think I get a little more value just having a card in hand and putting a little more pressure on opponent. I mean, if they know I have nothing, they know that I'm just going to want to activate all these creatures this turn. But if I have something, they might... Yeah, okay, they made the exact blocks that make playing the forest better. That said, I mean, this isn't that bad. So we sack skeleton. So yeah, I could have one more 1/1 in play here. But opponent's going to lose all their creatures. And we'll just pass. Okay, smash with everything. Hope that's good enough. Opponent might have to burst lightning Saproling token. Nope, nice concede. So that was a pretty close game. We started out way ahead, but opponent had enough flyers, and the Archangel was almost enough to put it away for them. So we don't know anything beyond them just being white. Didn't see a use for the garrison yet. They could just be mono white. So Deathmark, yeah, it does kill that flyer, so that's coming in. Centering Vitae, opponent has a lot of artifacts, so that's in. And what wouldn't be good? Sun and Blood might just be cuttable. Spiders are definitely good. Being able to block flyers is nice. Spellskite. It's just about always good. I mean, it can take taps from the tapper by paying 2 life, which isn't that great. So, and it doesn't block too well, I think, against opponent. They've got a lot of flyers. I think Spellskite might be cuttable. We want more spells that help us race. And then maybe just a Sign in Blood. Actually, I'll do Rampant Growth. I don't think Ramping's too important here. Alright, not the most exciting hand, but Rusalka plus Scatter lets us deal with some number of threats. And Skeleton's really nice. So we'll hold off on the Basilica. We'll go for Skeleton into Scatter the Seas on turn 3. Then we can start having fun with Rusalka and Skeleton. Okay, Carapace was bounce land. So they could make this a 3/3, which would be a little annoying, but I think we just have to allow that to happen. We can chump with Skeleton for a bunch of turns eventually. And I'd rather just take some damage now, get Scatter out. And because of the Skeleton, I mean, it does mess up our mana. I feel like opponent probably should put the Carapace on, but they might cast something else thinking that it's just easy enough for me to keep chumping every turn. Yeah, they just go for Soul Eater. And Vampire, very nice draw. So we'll just pass, go for Scatter. Next turn we can go Vampire, Basilica, and then Dread Drone. Our Vampire's going to have a ton of food. It's even kind of cool if opponent goes for Carapace, we could just sack the skeleton in response, so makes him a little less likely to go for that play. But they do go for Sunforger. So we'll go with Scatter. Sunforger could be pretty scary. And they probably have some kind of like Burst Lightning, Lightning Bolt type cards that can probably kill a Rusalka. Forest doesn't really do anything. Can't really make an attack here, so I think I'm going to go with Vampire and Basilica. Give us our second black source. Okay, opponent has Kite Sail. That's very scary. And Mirror Enforcer. So this is going to be tough. Now opponent has this really large flyer coming our way. And they also have a tapper. So could use something like Sunring Vitae quite a bit. Bone Splinters. Definitely a good draw. And I'm tempted to kill the Soul Eater, but I think we have to just kill the Enforcer. It's just so much damage coming at us. So we'll attack with Vampire. See how opponent reacts. I'd definitely sack a Saproling for the Germ token at this point. They just take it, it's fine. So we'll go Splinters, sacrificing Skeleton, play a Forest and pass. Opponent forgot to tap in a turn. So if they try to equip the Germ token, we'll kill it with the Rusalka. And they're free to put as many things as they want on the Soul Eater. And yeah, just hopefully they don't draw any more fat creatures. The Celestial Purge, that's tough. Yeah, gotta sack the Rusalka, kill the Germ token. So now if the opponent wants to, they can pile a bunch of stuff on the Soul Eater, but you know, we have Vampire threatening a lot of damage with reassembling Skeleton. And opponent has Glinthawk Idol. So Glinthawk can deal a lot of damage. It's kind of scary, but they do have to spend a lot of mana every turn to use it, so it's not the worst thing that we could have faced here. Forest is the worst thing we could draw, though. So let's threaten Vampire in. Opponent not tapping. It's interesting. And we can put a lot of damage at their face here. 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11. I mean, that's so much damage. At a minimum, since we're going for Dread Drone, like, I think I should just pile a bunch at their face, like, and force them to just keep using Soul Eater every turn. I think there actually is some value in that. So 1, 2. We can bring a Skeleton back, sack it. Actually, did I play land? Gotta check. I already played a Forest, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sack Sapperling. I'll play Dread Drone, so opponent takes 7. Leave a black so we can sack a spawn to get back Skeleton in a turn. If we want, probably don't want to do that. So opponent taps down Drone. I mean, they're pretty constricted here. If they do want to be attacking with their idol and getting a bunch of damage in, like, they got to keep the tapper back. We've got a Dread Drone, so if they do just sit back tapping the Vampire, they're still a bit in trouble. Duelist is a good draw, though. Probably put Sunforger on it, so that keeps back both of our attackers. And with the Kite Sail, that's a ton of damage, so we gotta draw something quickly. Summoning Vitae would be a fantastic draw. Root Canal is not bad. I would hate to lose my Vampire. Could we make, we could maybe make Vampire lethal. I mean, opponent probably uses Soul Eater here. Tap Vampire. But 1, 2, 3, 4. You tap 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You tap, wait, one more skeleton, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pumps. So it'd be exactly lethal, actually. So opponent might make a mistake here. So let's start by going for Root Canal. Then we go to attacks. Okay, opponent does tap there. So let opponent go to their turn. And they can throw a ton of damage at us. Shouldn't be able to do lethal. And we, if the opponent just taps down our Vampire, maybe leaves up a Hawk, we shouldn't be able to deal lethal next turn. So we probably have to top deck something to have a shot. Oh, are we taking lethal here? Maybe we are. No, I think they're one short. Could be wrong. You can go 16, 18. I think they're just one short of lethal. So we'll put Skeleton into play. And they have Sunforger up, so probably have some kind of removal, even if we make some big attack and they don't have lethal up. Deathmark. Well, certainly let's start by playing Deathmark, because this means they won't be able to equip Sunforger, or unequip it, in response to something we do. I mean, they can still get in lethal next turn with Idol, Carapace, or like Idol and Sunforger, so we have to win on this attack. I'm not sure if that's happening. If they remove Sunforger for a good removal spell, it might not work, but it's possible the math works out. I'm not sure yet. There's 7, 9, 11. Well, let's see what opponent gets with Sunforger, but if they have nothing, I think we actually lethal them here. And depending on what they have, if they like Raise Alarm, we're really screwed. Apostle's Blessing is okay. A Bolt might be fine, because Vampire and Ally, I think, both deal 11. Ah, Celestial Purge. Yeah, that's the worst. 2 purges. That's sick. So that'll be game. It was pretty close. So I don't think Spellskite's that great, but I think Vines could be because it can protect against Purge. So we'll just concede now. Everything else seemed pretty good against this opponent. I think I'll cut the Sun in Blood. Probably just the weakest card. It looks like Kenji won his semi-finals, so it'd be cool if we could win this and face him in the finals. And yeah, it was a nice hand. It's a little bit mana short, but a lot of powerful cards. If we get up to 4, the hand becomes pretty strong. So we just want to draw lands. Like a bounce land would be really sick here. So Homunculus. Another 4-drop. We could Death Mark the Homunculus. I don't think I want to be attacking yet, so I think I'll wait, but I'm kind of unsure about that. Death Mark can hit something cool like Archangel. So we have a spot here. We can sacrifice Rusalka to kill Homunculus. This is our last chance to make that play, or we could try to Death Mark Homunculus. We could also maybe go for like a 3/3 mass if we draw a land. So I think I'm just going to sack Rusalka here. Which does suck. Rusalka is a pretty key card in the deck. Perhaps just going for Death Mark was correct. But I think we're going to fall too far behind if we don't deal with that Homunculus there. Do we go for 3/3 mass? I think we do. I mean, you definitely want to go for a bigger mass in general, but we've got so many 4-drops, and we might miss a land for a couple turns, so I think we need to start racing now. Okay, Sunspirit Shikari, that can be pretty scary. Oh, and a Carapace, so we're going to have to use Death Mark on that for sure. We could also, if we draw a land, we could just play Predator and chump with the spawn for a turn. We can sack it. Yeah, I think that's a better play. It'd be cool to get out Gariel soon. If we draw a land, we can Gariel and Death Mark in the same turn. We could also sack a spawn to play Gariel and then Death Mark, but we wouldn't get a counter from the spawn sack, so that wouldn't be ideal. Okay, opponent equips. So we'll block and sack, deny them the lifelink. You could choose to take one hit and then play Gariel and like get an extra counter on it, but I think we want to avoid the drain for 4. I think we can probably get by without ever getting drained using the death mark. So I like waiting. And opponent does not have a bounce land. We draw lands, so we get to make that nice play. Gariel, death mark. And we could even sack the spawn, pump up the Gariel, and get in with mass for the turn. That's kind of good. So it's like 3 damage plus an extra counter on Gariel for future turns. That's kind of exciting. I think we do that. I mean, right now, opponent doesn't have anything that we need to chump. We got a lot of ground creatures out. So I think that this, just getting in the extra damage is going to be worthwhile. And I don't think we can get that 3 damage in on future turns, because we're going to have random mana up, so we can always be able to activate the mass. So I think this is the turn for it. Archangel would suck. Rested Relic, that also sucks. So yeah, Relic means we've got to sit back for a while. Opponent can keep attacking with the Hawk. So we really want to draw removal this turn. That would probably win the game. Okay, Dread Drone is actually quite good. Now, I hate trading off the Gariel, but I think we just gotta make something happen here. And it leaves us with 3 large ground creatures against the opponent. So I think it's worth it. I mean, otherwise, I guess we could put the mass and the predator in, and then potentially we'd have a 6/6 Gariel, and that's kind of hard to deal with. I mean, opponent would need to play like another ground creature. You know, we would be throwing away 1 creature for 3 damage, but eventually just having Gariel sitting in play compared to having a lot of other smaller creatures could definitely be better. So I think that's the play I'm going to make. Actually, even better, I'm going to send everything. This is actually a much better play. So now, we're taking both of those seemingly good plays and combining them. So either we're throwing away a creature and opponent, this place is way better. Either opponent eats one of our creatures, or they're taking a lot of damage and we're ending up with all these ground creatures in play. So they decide they want to kill the Gariel, and that means that we're going to have 10 damage in play and they're going to be at 8. So no more Gariel, but this is a pretty strong spot. If opponent has another Rusted Relic and we break out for a little bit, they could definitely come back. Flare Husk is pretty good for them. It holds back the Dread Drone. And if they want to, they can get in for 4 with the Carapace if they have nothing better to do. Well, they play a Kite Sail. That's not that strong. And just have 2 cards in hand and a Frogmite. That's a little better. Okay. So our turn, a lot of cards could be really nice draws. Duelist is very scary, so we really want to draw something here, at least a forest. That's a blank. It's going to be tough. Might need to just all in here. And the Dread Drone gets eaten by the Husk, but the other attackers are pretty good. And maybe we get to kill the duelist out of this. I think that's worthwhile. It just does so much damage on the swing back. And drawing anything that turn would have been really, really good. Yeah, opponent could just chump with the Frogmite, or they could trade the Duelist. But Duelist can deal a lot of damage to my face, so they just go for the chump. So we Basilica, they're at 5, we do have lethal coming at them. I mean, it might hold opponent off for a turn. They might just equip Flare Husk and Kitesail to the Duelist to make sure they don't die. But yeah, we really need to be drawing some cards. So opponent just has a land. So that's pretty good. And I think they're gonna just put the Kitesail on the Duelist, attack with the Glint Hawk. I guess the problem is that I think we're dead next turn. In fact, they could attack or not attack, and we're probably dead next turn. So this is actually pretty bad. I think we might need to rip Removal or Aquastrand Spider to survive here. Nope, I think we're dead. So yeah, it was pretty close, but yeah, we just bricked it out at the end, drew too many lands, and yeah, the Duelist pretty strong with a bunch of equipment. I mean, I really like that play, making the all-in attack against the opponent's Relic, but yeah, we just drew too many lands at the end, and yeah, weren't able to get there. Alright, so that's the match. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.